Some people spend their entire lives feeling like they don't belong anywhere. You can have friends. People can like you. And still feel like you don't belong anywhere. You can sit in a room full of people, and somehow, it feels like everyone else knows how to belong naturally, while you still feel out of place. Not because you're alone. Not because you're rejected. The strange part is that this feeling can follow you even into places where you're accepted. And after enough years, you begin to wonder if you'll ever find the place where it finally disappears. And if you felt this way for a long time, there's a good chance you've blamed yourself for it. Maybe you assumed you were too quiet, too awkward, too different. Or maybe you convinced yourself that one day everything would change, as soon as you found the right people. But here's what's interesting. Many people who feel like they don't belong continue feeling that way even after finding supportive friends, healthy relationships, and places where they're genuinely accepted. Which suggests something important. Because when the same feeling follows you everywhere you go, at some point, you have to wonder if the place was ever the problem at all. 1. Feeling like an outsider doesn't always mean you are one. Most people spend years searching for the place where they'll finally feel like they belong. A different environment. A different chapter of life. Because the feeling seems so obvious. If you feel out of place, then you must be in the wrong place. Right? But here's what makes this experience so confusing. Many people carry that feeling into completely different situations. Their life changes. The people around them change. Sometimes they even find relationships where they're genuinely valued and accepted. And yet, a part of them still feels like an outsider. That's why this feeling can be so misleading. Because feeling like you don't belong somewhere is not the same thing as actually not belonging there. Those are two very different things. One is a fact. The other is a feeling. And sometimes feelings tell us something important. But sometimes they tell us a story we've been carrying for so long that we stopped questioning whether it's actually true. 2. Why some people never feel fully settled. Here's something most people never think about. The feeling of belonging isn't created by places. It's created by safety. Think about it. When people truly feel at home somewhere, they're not constantly wondering how they're being perceived. They're not monitoring every reaction. They're not questioning whether they fit in. Their attention is free to simply exist in the moment. But for some people, that doesn't happen naturally. Even in perfectly normal situations, a part of their mind remains slightly alert. Watching. Evaluating. Trying to understand where they stand. Not because they want to. Because they've done it for so long that it feels automatic. And when part of your attention is always focused on the environment, it's surprisingly difficult to feel completely inside the experience. You can be sitting with people you like, having a good conversation, enjoying yourself, and still feel a small distance between yourself and everyone else. Not because you don't belong, but because part of your mind never fully stopped observing. And the strange thing is, many people assume this means they're disconnected from others, when sometimes they're actually too aware of everything around them. The difference between fitting in and belonging. Here's something strange. Many people spend years trying to find where they belong, without realizing they're actually trying to do something completely different. They're trying to fit in. And those two things are not the same. Because fitting in usually requires adaptation. You learn what people expect. You learn what makes others comfortable. You learn which parts of yourself are welcomed, and which parts are better left hidden. Over time, you get better and better at it. You learn how to blend in, how to avoid standing out, how to become the version of yourself that seems to work best in different situations. And sometimes it works. People accept you. They include you. They enjoy being around you. But despite all of that, something still feels missing. Because belonging is different. Belonging isn't the feeling of being accepted. It's the feeling of being accepted without having to constantly edit yourself first. Without carefully managing how you come across. Without feeling like you're performing a role. And that's why some people can spend years surrounded by friends and still feel strangely alone. Not because nobody cares about them, but because the version of themselves that everyone knows isn't always the version that feels most real to them. When that happens, the feeling of not belonging doesn't disappear. It simply becomes harder to explain. Because from the outside, everything looks fine. But on the inside, it can feel like nobody truly knows who you are. And maybe that's why so many people spend years searching for the right place, when what they're really searching for is the freedom to be themselves there. For the moment you stop forcing it. At some point, many people who feel like they don't belong start noticing something strange. The harder they try to fit in, the worse the feeling becomes. They stay in conversations that don't interest them, pretend to be excited about things they don't really care about, laugh at jokes they don't find funny, nod along with opinions they don't agree with. Not because they're fake, because they genuinely want to connect. Because they want the feeling everyone else seems to have so naturally. The feeling of belonging. But after a while, many people begin to notice something. No matter how much they adjust themselves, the feeling never fully goes away. And that's when a quiet shift starts to happen. They stop trying to fit every group, every room, every situation. They stop forcing conversations that feel empty. They stop chasing connections that never feel real. And strangely enough, that's often when something begins to change. Not because they suddenly found the perfect people, but because they're no longer spending all of their energy trying to become someone else. For the first time, they're showing up as themselves. And for the first time, the question is no longer, how do I make people accept me? The question becomes, what happens if I stop pretending to be someone easier to accept? And for many people, that's the moment they finally start feeling closer to others than they ever did while trying to fit in. Maybe you were never looking for a place. Maybe the hardest part about feeling like you don't belong is how long you spend assuming something is wrong with you. You watch other people seem comfortable. They find their groups, their relationships, their place in the world. And it's easy to wonder what they have that you don't. Easy to believe that somewhere out there, there's a place you're supposed to find. A place where the feeling finally disappears. But maybe the real question was never, where do I belong? Maybe the real question is, where can I stop pretending? Because belonging isn't about being accepted by everyone. It's about no longer feeling the need to become someone else in order to be accepted. And maybe that's why the feeling followed you for so many years. Not because you were meant to spend your life searching for the right place, but because you were searching for something much harder to find. The place where you could simply be yourself. Without explaining. Without performing. Without constantly adjusting who you are. So if you've spent years feeling like you don't belong anywhere, maybe the answer was never to belong everywhere. Maybe it was to find the places where you no longer felt the need to become someone else. And maybe, for the first time, that's where belonging begins. If this video resonated with you, let me know in the comments. Have you ever felt like you didn't belong anywhere? Or have you finally found a place where you can simply be yourself?